Blessed is the nation whose God is the Lord. Comes from Psalm 33:12. I'm glad y'all could join me today. For those of you who've been here before, know me, welcome back. Those new to the channel, I'd like to say welcome. I'm the grouchy old patriot. We have a little channel here where we like to discuss different topics. Have little sit-down chit-chats, which we like to call coffee with the Grouch. Now, to get all the admin stuff out of the way, go ahead and, if you haven't already done it, hit that subscribe button, like button, hit that little bell icon thing. Share this video if you like it. Why don't y'all go ahead and grab you a cup of coffee or grab you a iced tea, grape knee-high, wobble pop, whatever suits your fancy, and cop a squat. We'll have a little discussion here. I started this little chit-chat out with a message from Psalm 33:12. And the founders of this country knew how important that was. Going all the way back to the pilgrims that landed at Plymouth Rock, who were fleeing religious persecution, come to a new land where they could practice their religion as they saw fit. And that's kind of been one of the founding principles of this nation all along. Our founding fathers knew that in order for this nation to be a great nation, to be a nation where individual rights were valued, it had to be a moral nation. They knew that our rights were not given to us by a king or an emperor or a potentate. Our natural rights were a gift from our Creator. And no human man had the right or the ability to put them aside. They pledged their lives, their treasures, and their sacred honor. Wonder why they put that word sacred in there. Because without a belief in something bigger than themselves, without a belief in a law that went beyond man, there could be no morality. And with no morality, there's no honor. Therefore, for a man to have honor, and when I say man, I'm talking mankind. I'm using the generic man. I don't get all caught up in the him, her, he, she crap. But for a man to have honor, he has to believe in something bigger than himself. He has to have a moral core, moral principles. He has to believe that good triumphs over evil. He has to believe that in order for him to gain honor, he has to work for something more than just himself. There's a morality behind it. There's an integrity behind it. And therefore, your honor is sacred. I'm not the best orator in the world. Sometimes I stumble over words. Sometimes I spend a few minutes and search for the right word to try and convey my thought. Some people view that as a sign of ignorance, a sign of my redneckedness. I view it as a sign of carefulness, trying to convey the right message, the message I'm trying to get across in as articulate and understandable a manner as I can. So you'll just have to put up with it. I've talked about this before, about how the country was founded on Judeo-Christian principles, and it was. But let's go back even farther than that. Go back and look at Socrates. He was tried for corrupting the youth. Great thinker, philosopher. His only crime was trying to get people to think for themselves, not relying on just what they're told by their betters in society. That every man had the right, the ability to think and reason for himself. Plato even said so in his treatise, The Apology, that talked about the trial of Socrates. But the problem was that even though every person had the ability and the right to think for themselves, they still didn't have the right to act for themselves. They didn't have the freedom, the liberty to act on those thoughts, on that consciousness. The Roman Cicero went a step farther and claimed that the body politic was dependent upon the individual. A little bit ahead of his time. Things back then were still pretty much ruled under a feudal system, a tribal system the world over. Martin Luther in 1517, not to be confused with Martin Luther King, but Martin Luther, during the Reformation, in his 95 Things Wrong with the Catholic Church, pointed out that an individual, each person, had an individual relationship with their Creator, with God. They didn't have to go through an intermediary, a priest or a pope or a bishop. They didn't need anybody to intervene with God on their behalf. They had the natural right to have a personal relationship with God. You know, and all of these thoughts going down, like I said, from Socrates all the way to Socrates, Plato, Cicero, Martin Luther, John Locke, all building on one another, all leading up to the realization that the individual has worth. And when you have worth, you have rights. Man was created in God's image and given natural rights. And one of those rights was liberty, freedom. The freedom to choose, to do what you want, to do as you see fit. And it's your relationship with God that gives you that morality and that sacred honor to choose right. People say that the Magna Carta was one of the founding documents of personal rights. Give rights to the people. Well, it didn't. It didn't. I'm here to tell you, the Magna Carta only gave certain rights to the barons, the landowners. Didn't affect the peasantry. It was only to the barons. And the king could revoke those rights. The Pope could revoke those rights. He did a couple of times. Ruled the Magna Carta went against God's rule. Magna Carta was issued, I think, around 40 times by different kings down through the years. Some of them added more rights, some of them took away more rights. But those rights were always given to the barons who assisted the king in running the kingdom. So you can't really call the Magna Carta a document of liberty for the people, because it wasn't. Now, our founding fathers, starting with the Pilgrims, came over searching for religious freedom, personal liberties, the freedom to pursue their own goals and their own dreams. Pretty powerful. And our founding fathers knew that in order for a people to do that, for a government that allowed people all of those freedoms, could not be a monarchy, could not be an empire, could not be under the feudal system. The government got its power from the governed, from the people. The people were the power. The government doesn't have a relationship with God. The people have a relationship with God. The people are the moral force behind the country, not the government. The government was supposed to do what the people wanted it to do, not vice versa. And that was a pretty subversive thought. Led to the French Revolution. The French looked at what we did and rose up, decided, hey, they did it, let's get rid of our king. Let's see if that works here in the continent. We're tired of having endless wars for conquest, for territory, and because one family pissed another one off, so the whole nation has to suffer. We're tired of it. But we have shifted away from that inner morality, that inner conscience that we are all endowed with, all capable of using. But starting 1950s on through the 60s with the beginning of the free love movement and the tune in, turn on, drop out movement, and free drugs, and it was all about feeling good and who cares what the man thinks. I'm doing it for me. Well, you'll have libertarians and certain others saying, well, isn't that what you're talking about? Isn't that personal liberty and personal rights? Yes. But it's not guided by an inner conscience and an inner morality that separates the good from the evil. Civilizations through history have been, decadence has been the downfall of them, because they fail to realize, as they become less moral as a society. And I'm not preaching, I'm not saying that you don't have the right to do as you want to. I'll be the first one to stand up and say, you be you. Okay? But I'll also be the first one to pray that you do the right thing and do the good thing and not the evil thing. And our government, as it's been moving slowly and slowly to the left, and I don't mean just the federal government, I mean academia, the media, they've been pushing more and more immorality and pushing religion farther and farther to the fringes. If you are a devout religious person now, doesn't really matter what religion you are, Protestant, Catholic, Jewish, Muslim, Buddhist, Native American, it doesn't matter what your religion is. If you believe in something higher than yourself, devoutly, you're looked upon a little bit as an outcast. Secularism has become the new religion. The state has pushed religion out of our schools, media's pushed religion off of TV, out of our entertainment. Movies that glorify killing and drug use and sex, drugs, and rock and roll are advertised and pushed and made popular. And that's all for a reason, because as I said earlier in this video, every man needs something to believe in. He needs something to rely on, something to fall back on, something bigger than himself. And if we get rid of God, if we get rid of our religions, then the state becomes that something else. The government, who is supposed to be subservient to the people, then becomes controlling of the people, because you're looking for something bigger, better than yourself, something to believe in. And if you're believing in government, if you're looking to them to be that thing that is more than you, then you're subservient to it. And this is the way socialist governments work. The government itself becomes the church. Pol Pot did it. Stalin did it. Mao did it. Get rid of religion, people start worshiping the state. And that's a recipe for disaster. That's a recipe for failure. So I ask each of you, I'm not going to tell you, I'm not going to sit here and say that you need to go to church every Sunday and you need to be a Christian or you need to be a Jew. I'm not even going to tell you that you have to believe in the God of Abraham. What I am going to say is that you need to believe in something bigger than yourself that has a distinct morality to it. Because if you don't believe in something, you're lost. Those who wander lost will grasp at anything. A drowning man will pull you under and drown you as he's trying to survive. Same thing goes for a man who has lost his way morally and doesn't have that guiding principles to fall back on and believe in. Tell me what you think, folks. Am I totally off base here? Am I just an old man who's out of touch with reality, hoping for a time in the past that's long gone? Or is it something we can regain? This country's on the downfall. And we've got leaders who are continually pushing it in that direction because they have no moral compass. They're not in it for the nation. They're in it for themselves. They don't care about their neighbor. They don't care about the people down the street. A moral person does. But, like I said, tell me what you think. Leave me a message below. That's really all I got for you today, folks. Just a few thoughts out of this old Grouch's head. If you agree with me, share this video. Maybe if enough people hear this message and realize what's going on, we can turn things around. But if everybody sits on their hands, nothing's going to change. As always, folks, may Liberty's torch light your path. And I wish each and every one of you Godspeed in all your endeavors. Thank you.